Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 2 of December 2024. Flipkart, India's largest e-commerce firm, valued at $36 billion, is preparing for an initial public offering in the coming year with a definitive timeline of 12 to 15 months. The proposed listing, which is likely to be the largest share issue by a new economic company, will mark a seminal moment for the country's startup sector that is now regarded as the third largest worldwide. The Walmart-owned firm has secured internal approvals to move its domicile from Singapore to India, regarded as a first step to an IPO, and is targeting a public sale of shares by the end of the next calendar year or within the first quarter of 2026. Flipkart's India IPO will top a roster of about a dozen new age firms lining up for the bourses in 2025. This follows successful listings by consumer internet firms including Zomato, Nykaa, and Swiggy that has grabbed retail investor interest in Indian startups. With companies planning to establish more global capability centers or GCCs in India, states are eager to grab a piece of the action. Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh are among those drafting their own GCC policies to attract multinationals with incentives to create back-office hubs outside the traditional hotspots of Bengaluru and NCR. India leads in GCCs with over 1,700 of them, accounting for 17% of the global tally, employing 1.9 million people. GCCs in India have surged 60% in the last 5 years, contributing an estimated $64.6 billion to the country's GDP. NASSCOM estimates this will hit $100 billion by 2030. India's real estate sector is experiencing a prop tech boom, driven by regulatory reforms like RERA and the digitization of land records. These initiatives are fostering transparency and trust, attracting investments, and empowering buyers. Prop tech investments are projected to reach $16 billion by 2030, reflecting the sector's transformative impact. LG Electronics India, the country's top home appliance maker, is preparing for a Rs 15,000 crore IPO. The company expressed concerns about potential future competition from its South Korean parent and its subsidiary, Hi-M Solutech India, due to the lack of exclusivity agreements. LG India is also expanding with a new appliance rental service and a planned third factory in Andhra Pradesh. RBI has raised the interest rate ceilings on foreign currency non-resident accounts or FCNRB deposits for banks effective from December 6, 2024 until March 31, 2025. For deposits with a maturity of 1 year to less than 3 years, the ceiling is the overnight alternative reference rate or ARR of the respective currency plus 400 basis points. For deposits with a maturity of 3 years to 5 years, the ceiling is ARR plus 500 basis points. The central government, exercising its powers under IFSCA Act 2019, has notified schemes operated by pension funds as financial products for the purposes of the Act. This notification shall be effective from the date of its publication in the official gazette. The Reserve Bank of India has approved the Burman family's plan to acquire an additional 26% stake in Religare Enterprises. This follows a tussle for control of the NBFC. The RBI's approval, valid for 1 year, comes with conditions including maintaining the current management structure and requiring consolidation of NBFCs within the Burman Group by March 31, 2026. Alpha Wave Global has offered over $1 billion for a minority stake in Haldiram Snacks Food, joining competing bids from Blackstone and Bain Capital consortiums. The snack food giant is valued at $8.8 billion to $9.4 billion. The Agarwal family, founders of Haldiram, are considering selling a 15 to 20% stake after previously exploring a majority sale. The RBI has decided to raise the limit for collateral-free agricultural loans, including loans for allied activities, from the existing level of Rs 1.6 lakh to Rs 2 lakh per borrower. This decision is taken by considering the overall inflation and rise in agriculture input cost over the years. Further, banks are advised to waive collateral security and margin requirements for agricultural loans, including loans for allied activities, up to Rs 2 lakh per borrower. Lenskart would be setting up the world's largest eyewear manufacturing facility in Telangana with an investment of around Rs 1,500 crore. The facility will produce eyewear, lenses, sunglasses, as well as accessories and other products catering to India, along with exports to other markets in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Energy storage and solutions company Livguard is planning to incur a capital expenditure of Rs 3,360 crore to increase its battery capacity to 25 gigawatt hours in the next 5 years. The company plans to fund the expenditure with around Rs 1,270 crore to 1,697 crore in equity and a similar amount in debt. Bengaluru, often celebrated as India's Silicon Valley, is also known as the Global Capability Center or GCC EPIC Center. With 2,975 GCCs already operational across India, employing more than 1.6 million professionals, around 875 of them are in Bengaluru. The city's vibrant talent pool, cosmopolitan culture, and global connectivity make it a preferred destination for tech-driven enterprises. With the introduction of the Karnataka GCC Policy 2024-2029, the state aims to attract 500 new GCCs, generating $50 billion in economic output and creating 3.5 lakh jobs by 2029. Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone has withdrawn its $553 million loan request from the US Development Finance Corporation for the Colombo Port project. Adani will instead fund the project with internal resources. The project is progressing well and is expected to be operational early next year. This follows investigations into Adani by US authorities. India's largest airline Indigo is set to start competing with Air India in chasing business class flyers as part of a strategy to attract high-paying corporate customers and boost profit margins. This will mark a drastic shift for Indigo, which has so far operated its entire fleet in an all-economy configuration with a primary focus on offering affordable fares to fill aircraft seats. Micro, small and medium enterprise or MSME stakeholders urge the government to implement GST reductions, technology upgrades and extend production-linked incentive benefits to various sectors during a pre-budget meeting with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday. The interaction aimed to gather inputs for the Union Budget 2025-26, scheduled for presentation on February 1st. Stakeholders highlighted the need for addressing technology gaps and skill development with calls for specific measures such as linking the GEM or Government e-Marketplace portal to Udayam registration to expand MSME's market reach. The government issued an order to include solar cells under the ambit of approved list of models and manufacturers or ALMM effective from June 1, 2026, a measure aimed to boost domestic manufacturing of solar cells and reduce dependency on Chinese imports. ALMM is a list of the models and manufacturers from which solar project developers are required to buy equipment from. Currently, ALMM has been imposed for solar modules. However, in the past few years, implementation of ALMM for solar modules has faced several challenges primarily due to reluctance from the industry. The new rule extends the norm to a more primary level of manufacturing of solar equipment, which would mean increased domestic value addition. After watching the rapidly growing quick commerce space in the recent months, the India business of the Seattle headquarter Amazon has decided to take a plunge in it. In yet another significant announcement, the company has announced raising its cumulative export target from India to $80 billion by 2030 from $20 billion by 2025, in line with the firm's commitment to Viksit Bharat. The firm is on track to reach its previous target of $20 billion in exports by 2025 after reporting $13 billion this year. The Securities and Exchange Board of India or SEBI has proposed leveraging the DigiLocker platform to streamline the process of claiming unclaimed assets of deceased investors. According to a discussion paper, the regulator has proposed that depositories and mutual funds be required to provide demat and mutual fund holding statements respectively in DigiLocker. It has also proposed the automatic updating of a DigiLocker user status upon their demise using data from the Registrar General of India. Further, an automatic intimation to the DigiLocker nominee would be sent via SMS and email. The nominees could then access the digital information in the account of the deceased user or investor and initiate the process of transmission of the financial asset. Telecom companies and tech firms clashed over regulations to curb online spam at a Telecom Regulatory Authority of India's open house. Telecom companies urged for OTT platforms and telemarketers to be held accountable, while tech players argued against bringing OTTs under the regulator's purview, citing existing Information Technology Act regulations. Telecom Regulatory Authority of India acknowledged the diverse opinions and pledged to consider all viewpoints while formulating new rules. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries or OPEC cut oil demand growth forecast for this year and next for a fifth straight month, making its deepest reduction to the 2024 outlook so far after agreeing to extend its supply curbs. The OPEC chopped projections for consumption growth in 2024 by 210,000 barrels a day to 1.6 million barrels a day. The cartel has slashed projections by 27% since July as it belatedly recognized the deteriorating market picture. The National Financial Reporting Authority or NFRA chairperson Ajay Bhushan Prasad Pandey emphasized the urgent need for India to align its auditing standards with global benchmarks to bolster investor confidence, attract funds, and enhance the credibility of financial data. Pandey underlined that achieving a Viksit Bharat or developed India demands world-class auditing standards, stating, "We cannot have inferior standards." Established in October 2018 under the Companies Act, NFRA has issued over 80 regulatory orders to date. Pandey pointed out gaps in India's existing auditing standards and highlighted the necessity of updates to address loopholes that have historically led to financial frauds worldwide. The SEBI has noticed that certain electronic platforms and/or websites are facilitating transactions in the unlisted securities of public limited companies. Such activities are in violation of Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956 and SEBI Act 1992. To address this issue, the SEBI had earlier issued a press release dated August 13, 2016, which cautioned the public against these activities. Recently, SEBI has also issued press releases cautioning investors on unauthorized virtual trading platforms offering virtual trading, paper trading, fantasy games, and unregistered online platforms offering unlisted debt securities. The Directorate General of Foreign Trade, or DGFT, on Wednesday extended the import management system for select IT hardware products for another year. This comes at a time when domestic production in India is far lower than the demand. The current import management system for the 7 IT hardware products, including laptop, tablet, all-in-one personal computer, ultra-small form factor computer and servers, is valid till December 31st, 2024. According to the latest DGFT notification, importers will have to seek fresh authorization for next year. The Jubilant Bhartiya Group, promoters of Jubilant Foodworks, is all set to acquire a 40% stake in Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages or HCCB, the Indian bottling unit of US beverage giant, the Coca-Cola Company. On Wednesday, the Atlanta-based Coca-Cola announced that it had reached an agreement with the master franchisee of Domino's Pizza for the stake sale. While the deal size was not announced, sources in the know say that the transaction is likely to be Rs 12,500 crore in size, valuing HCCB at Rs 31,250 crore. The Bhartiyas are expected to tie up with Goldman Sachs for funding the transaction. They are likely to get about Rs 4,000 to Rs 5,000 crore on their own, which is about 40% of the deal value. Goldman Sachs may come in with the balance 60%. Australia-based Macquarie Asset Management or MAM, the world's largest infrastructure asset manager, is seeking to sell its largest Indian road portfolio of 9 national highway stretches at a combined valuation of around $2 billion. MAM will begin the sale process by early next year and plans to appoint a banker by the end of this month. It had acquired the rights to manage the 648-kilometer long national highways in Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat from the National Highway Authority of India in 2018. The firm acquired the road assets for Rs 9,681 crore, which is 1.5 times higher than the base price set by National Highway Authorities of India in the first toll operate transfer auction held in 2018. German shipbuilding giant ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems or TKMS proposes a joint submarine and warship building hub in India with Masgaon Dockyards Limited or MDL. This venture aims to reduce production costs by up to 50% and tap into the growing global demand for naval assets, potentially serving markets in Southeast Asia and South America. RBI has expressed concerns over fintech companies' aggressive lending practices, particularly to first-time buyers of used vehicles. These practices, including excessive top-up loans, are increasing borrower vulnerability and impacting lender balance sheets. The regulator has warned against high loan-to-value ratios and has taken action against some lenders for non-compliance. IRDAI, the insurance regulator, is considering regulations to curb insurers' reliance on parent banks for bancassurance sales, often exceeding 90%. This follows concerns over mis-selling and aims to promote diversification through agency and digital channels, fostering a level playing field within the industry. The regulator encourages insurers to explore open architecture distribution models. Earlier, SEBI had introduced the beta version of the T+0 rolling settlement cycle on an optional basis in addition to the existing T+1 settlement cycle in equity cash markets for a limited set of 25 scrips. Now, to increase the efficiency of the optional T+0 settlement cycle, SEBI has decided to increase the number of eligible scrips for trading under the optional T+0 settlement cycle to the top 500 scrips in terms of market capitalization as on 31st December 2024. SEBI has revised guidelines for capacity planning and real-time performance monitoring framework of market infrastructure institutions or MIIs. Under the revised guidelines, MIIs have been directed to develop future-ready frameworks to estimate capacity needs based on trends, historical data, transaction growth, and business changes. Further, all MIIs must ensure adequate system capacity in place to handle high volumes to ensure a high level of service availability. Switzerland will suspend a key tax provision with India from 2025, impacting dividend income for Indian companies operating there. This follows an Indian Supreme Court ruling on the most favored nation clause, potentially increasing withholding tax from 5% to 10%. The move may affect investment commitments exceeding $100 billion under the European Free Trade Agreement. SEBI has notified the SEBI issue and listing of non-convertible securities Third Amendment Regulations 2024. A new Regulation 12A relating to issuance of environment, social and governance debt securities has been inserted. It states that an issuer desirous of issuing and listing of environment, social and governance debt securities or ESG debt securities must comply with conditions as may be specified by the board. Further, the term ESG debt securities has been defined. In a strategic move to bolster its events and ticketing business, food delivery giant Swiggy has launched a new service called Scenes under its out-of-home vertical Dine Out. This feature enables users to book parties, events, and live music at Swiggy's partner restaurants. This launch closely follows Zomato's introduction of its ticketing platform, District, last month. Swiggy and Zomato is poised to escalate further as both companies now compete across multiple verticals. Zepto, another player in the market, is also vying for a share in these segments. The Securities and Exchange Board of India clarified exclusions from pro rata distribution mandate for alternative investment funds or AIFs. This mandate ensures benefits are distributed proportionately to investors' commitments in the AIF scheme. SEBI in November notified the changes in AIF regulations to provide investors rights and distribution of proceeds in proportion to their commitments in the scheme. In a circular issued on Friday, SEBI said that the mandate will not be applicable if an investor has excused or excluded from participating in an investment or if the investor has defaulted in providing the contribution. Alvarez and Marcel or A&M is bolstering its corporate finance team in India. A&M plans to double its corporate finance staff to 40 professionals within 2 years, focusing on sectors like healthcare and manufacturing. A specialist in distress asset sale, A&M has been involved in marquee deals in the past. These include Tata Sons' $2.8 billion acquisition of Air India, ArcelorMittal's $6 billion buyout of Essar Steel, and Vedanta's acquisition of Electro Steel Steels. A&M also advised a consortium of JSW Steel and Aeon partners on the Monet Ispat and Energy acquisition. This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.